Recording.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Indivisible North Metro Atlanta, as well as Third Act of Georgia. We appreciate your attendance tonight. Um, Geoff, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to introduce you to our event team tonight. Uh, Again, my name is Joe Wagner. I'll be one of three moderators tonight, along with Laura Judge and Amanda Rache. And behind the scenes, running the program will be Jeff Luther and Heather Sorensen. So we're very appreciative to them for that. Okay, so as far as the agenda tonight, I'll be going through a little bit of background information on what the forum is all about. And then we'll go into the candidate appearances. Some will be talking to us live, and some have provided video addresses. We'll be going through a number of offices: governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, Supreme Court, PSC District 5, U.S. House Congressional District 7, Georgia House Districts 49 and 53, and Senate District 56. Okay, so a little bit of background information on what we're going through tonight. Um, so the information that we're covering here relates to the upcoming primary election on May 19th, and is actually technically not only a primary, it's also a nonpartisan general election. There are several elections where it's a one and done, and they won't be voted on again in November, for example, Supreme Court. So it's very important that we get out and vote on the 19th or earlier, as early voting begins on April 27th. So one key date to keep in mind is this coming Monday, April 20th, is the deadline to register to vote in the primary. So please, everyone, even if you've checked your registration recently, please go again within the next day or two and just double check again, because you definitely cannot do that too many times, since we've had issues in the past with some people dropping off of the rolls. So you can confirm your registration by going to Georgia's My Voter page. We have a QR code here that you can scan, or unfortunately, our chat is not working tonight, but we will send follow-up information to everyone who registered for this event afterwards, and we'll include a link to that site. Okay, so a little bit more information on our group, Indivisible North Metro Atlanta. Our group members will be voting on our preferred primary candidate endorsements in the next few days. And then Third Act Georgia, who is also presenting this information tonight, will be issuing endorsements for the general election in November. So we're also making the information presented here available to the wider public as a general resource. So if you happen not to be a member of INMA or of Third Act Georgia, we welcome you, and we appreciate the fact that you're here to educate yourself as a voter. So as part of the research related to our group's endorsement efforts, we had a volunteer team of our group members who selected a few statewide and district level races of particular impact to the residents that are served by INMA. I know that there are several races that are not included in the scope here, and we do apologize for that. This is our first time taking on the endorsements process, so we had to kind of narrow our focus a little bit as we're building our process around endorsements. So we reviewed publicly available information on all the candidates in the selected races, regardless of party lines. And any candidate that expressed current policy positions that are at odds with our group's focus on progressive change were screened out of consideration. Those with an online presence insufficient to complete our research were also screened out of consideration. Additionally, races involving any uncontested incumbent candidates were not considered at this stage. So the candidates who passed the screening were sent a questionnaire. It was a highly detailed questionnaire covering a lot of topics that we'll take a look at momentarily. We got a very good response from candidates in several races. I highly encourage you to follow this QR code to a packet of information that has all of their good detailed responses to our questions. Again, you can either follow this QR code or we will include a link in the information that we send out to all registrants after the event tonight. Okay, and I won't go through all of this, but this gives you an idea of the questions that we asked all of the candidates in our targeted races. We asked for responses as far as their views on expanding Medicaid in Georgia, and then we asked a number of elections-related questions. We did pose questions about ICE and the concentration camps that they've been building across the country. And then we asked information about Georgia's 6-week abortion ban. And we did ask about the Riley-Gaines Act and about racial profiling. So please take a look at that questionnaire and the responses. It's very edifying. Okay, and with that, I will turn it over to Laura.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Judge. So we're going to start our forum. And for the candidate forum, candidates who are here live will introduce themselves in a statement, which will last up to 2 minutes. And then they'll respond to 2 questions. And each of those questions will be 90 seconds each. Those who are not live will present videos. And those videos can last up to 5 minutes each. So next slide, please. And we're starting with our Georgia governor candidates. You will see the folks that the team has looked at through their public information, and we encourage you to visit their website. We have Keisha Lance Bottoms, Olu Brown, Geoff Duncan, Jason Estevez, Derrick Jackson, and Michael Thurmond. So first up, we have Olu Brown, and I believe he should be live.
Hello, everyone.
Give us 1 second, Mr. Brown. Geoff, can you turn off the share so that...
I'm sorry.
There you go. Go ahead, Olu.
Hello, everyone. Indivisible North Metro. It is an honor to be here with you. I've been traveling the state, focusing not only on Metro, but also in North Georgia, Metro, Middle, South, and Coastal Georgia. I'm running for governor because I want to build a better Georgia for everyone. I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a protector, I'm a provider, I'm a faith leader, and I'm also a small business owner. We're focusing on affordability for all Georgians. Earlier today, I was speaking to a group of seniors, and we know that for seniors, the cost of living is very high, from car insurance to food to medical. But not only for seniors, but also for everyday Georgians trying to live their best lives. And so, as your next governor, I'll fight for affordability in healthcare. I'll fight for affordability in groceries. I'll fight for affordability in home ownership. And I will make sure everyone in Georgia has a path for success, which is why we're also focusing on excellent education for every kid in Georgia and teacher pay raises to make sure we value not only our students, but we also value our educators. I'd appreciate your support and your vote for early voting April 27th or Election Day, May 19th. Go to olu4ga.com. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you tonight.
Thank you for that. So our first question for you is, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
Well, first and foremost, I believe in gun safety and I believe in working across the aisles. As your next governor, my push and my emphasis will not be to take away guns, but I will make sure guns are safer for those who are carrying them and those who are in our general public. We know statistically, as it relates to our young children and our teenagers, gun deaths are some of the highest causes of demise and death for our young people, and that is unacceptable. We also know that guns have also caused great tragedies in many of our soft target areas across Georgia and the United States of America, such as our churches, our hospitals, and our schools. I will work across the aisle to make sure we are not making military grade level weaponry for general citizens in the state of Georgia. They have a place in the military, but they don't have a place for home ownership for everyday Georgians living in our state. Number two, we'll make sure we practice gun safety laws that protect our children and also protect our teenagers. And that means making sure all the things that are necessary in order for safe locking and safe storage of guns is something that we require for gun ownership. We also know the state of Georgia has some of the most lax gun ownership laws in the country. We will look at those laws in Georgia and we'll also look at gun safety laws across the United States of America and make sure, as your next governor, I am pushing for legislation that, yes, gives people the right to carry and bear arms, but at the end of the day, it protects all Georgians, especially our soft targets, our children, and our youth. So I am in favor of gun ownership, but I am also in favor of gun safety, and I will do everything I can to make Georgia as safe as possible for all Georgians.
Thank you for that. And our second question for you is, what would your first priorities be should you be elected to office?
Well, there are two first priorities. First is expanding Medicaid and Peach Care. As of the beginning of this year, more than 200,000 Georgians left the healthcare rolls. And I asked the person who actually is very deeply involved in healthcare, what happened to those 200,000 and do they still have healthcare? Their answer is they're just no longer in the healthcare system and they no longer have healthcare. I'm an entrepreneur, so we purchase our family's healthcare on the exchange. As of January of this year, for our family, our monthly premium is now more than our monthly mortgage. It is catastrophic for our family and catastrophic for families across Georgia. We will make sure we expand Medicaid across our state to make sure folks are healthier and have more access to health care. We'll also make sure we expand Peach Care because we know the early years of child life are extremely vital, and we have to make sure we get the preventive procedures for them earlier on so they can be healthier adults. And we'll also use a part of our $14 billion surplus to lower the high cost of healthcare premiums across Georgia. But secondly, we got to focus health on education. We got to make sure every kid in Georgia receives an excellent education. I have a lifetime teaching certificate for grades 1 through 8. So education is very personal to me. But
I
then secondly,
apologize.
okay,
We have to move on to the next
all right,
question, please.
thank you.
Thank you, Heather. And thank you, Olu Brown. Again, for those that are listening, and this is your first candidate that you're seeing, please go visit the QR code. It has more of the answers to the packet, as Joe had mentioned earlier. Next up,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Next up, we have a video, I believe, from Geoff Duncan.
Hey, Indivisible Atlanta. I'm Geoff Duncan, and I'm sorry I can't be with you in person. We are literally living life in the fast lane out on the campaign trail. It's an honor to truly be running for governor in Georgia as a proud Democrat. And the question I get asked a lot is, what point in time did I decide to switch parties? And for me, it gives me a great opportunity to talk about the journey that I've been on for years. A journey that's allowed me to understand the importance of bipartisanship and working across party lines with folks like Stacey Abrams on rural hospital, tax credits, working on hate crimes legislation across party lines, and the list goes on and on and on. It's been nearly 30 years since the Democrats won a governor's race in Georgia. Roy Barnes got sworn in 1998. And we can all come up with complicated reasons why that's been the case. But the reality is, to be governor in Georgia, you've got to win more than the base. I'm certainly building that coalition that's big enough to not just win a primary, but to win a general election. I'm building a coalition of Democrats, independents, and yes, even disgusted Republicans that are showing up in droves. Every time Donald Trump opens his mouth, our party's getting bigger and better. I'm also staying laser focused. I think we all should stay laser focused. Democrats have tried to be everything to everybody in every room for years. And I think a majority of Georgians want us to be focused and to come to work solving their problems. I'm talking about the affordability crisis. I'm talking about the healthcare crisis. And of course, I'm talking about the Donald Trump crisis. Look, there's things governor can do to help this affordability crisis. I want to put 10% of our $17 billion state rainy day fund into a jumpstart fund, $1.7 billion to wrap around the axle of poverty, to be able to tackle things like affordable childcare, affordable housing, the TANF program to meet temporary needs around power bills and transportation to and from work. I want to expand Medicaid. It's the only way that we can send folks to the hospital. It should be with insurance. And the Donald Trump crisis, of course, I haven't checked my phone in the last 30 seconds, but I'm sure there's another crisis coming our way. Look, I'm ready to win this race. I don't want to just win a second place trophy. I want us together to win first place trophy and not only lead ourselves, but lead the entire country on a better way forward. So, I'm often asked what my first 100 days are going to look like as governor, and it's going to be aggressive, and I guarantee you it's going to be effective. I'm going to work across the aisle to build consensus on expanding Medicaid, on repealing the heartbeat bill. But one of those big issues that I really want to tackle front and center, and one of the big reasons why I'm standing here as a proud Democrat, is guns. I think Republicans know they are dead wrong on this issue and have been, and they're not willing to stand up and say that they're wrong. I believe 90% of Georgians know what they're talking about when they want universal background checks, red flag laws, and in-home safe storage laws. Day one, I'm going to present through my floor leaders legislation that allows us to stand up a gun safety package that makes all the sense in the world and make Republicans even vote in our favor on the issue. This is the right thing to do, and I can't wait to be the champion to get it across the finish line. Thanks for the opportunity, and sorry, once again, I couldn't be there in person, but we're excited, we're working hard, and can't wait for the opportunity to win this thing together. Our website's duncanforgeorgia.com, and look forward to asking for your support and your trust to be the next governor of Georgia.
Next, we have a video from Derrick Jackson.
Good evening. I apologize that my schedule did not allow me to be with you all in person tonight, but I wanted to make sure you heard directly from me about why I'm running for governor and what I will fight for on day one. My name is Derrick Jackson, and I'm a state representative running to become the 84th governor of Georgia. My professional career spans 22 honorable years in the United States Navy, retiring as a lieutenant commander, followed by 10 years in the corporate sector, and now concluding my 10th year as your state representative for Georgia's House District 68. I spent my entire life in service to my country, to my community, and to the people of Georgia. And I'm running for governor because that service is not finished. Let me be clear about something. The era of political interest above our children's lives ends the day I take office. For a decade, Georgia has been defined by dangerous deregulation of gun laws. But as your governor, I will systematically repeal every reckless gun law passed in this state over the last 10 years that has stripped away our security. My plan: first, I will end concealed campus carry. Our schools should be places of learning, not fear. Second, I will strike down the shoot first, stand your ground laws that have turned our public squares into zones of fear. Third, I will enact my House Bill 601, which I introduced in the State House to place a moratorium on military assault weapons and ban the high-capacity magazines that turn a single moment of violence into a massacre. Fourth, we will be proactive, not reactive. We will use red flag and yellow flag laws to intervene before a crisis turns into a headline. We will enforce strict safe storage mandates to keep guns out of the wrong hands. Fifth, my administration will set a clear, uncompromising standard. You must be 21 years old to purchase a firearm. You will wait 5 days for that purchase to clear. And we will shut down every gun show loophole that allows a background check to be skipped. From untraceable ghost guns to weapons of war on our streets, that flooding will stop. We will stop this madness on gun violence. And together we will make Georgia a state where safety is a guarantee, not a luxury. Georgia stands at a crossroads, and the path forward requires a leader who sees the struggle in our rural towns just as clearly as the potential in our city centers. My first priorities as your governor will be rooted in 5 critical areas to define our collective future. Number 1, family first. We will ensure our policies support the people who are the heartbeat of this state: working families, seniors, veterans, and children. Number 2, healthcare access. We will guarantee access to quality healthcare for every Georgian, specifically stabilizing our rural hospitals so that the life-saving care is never determined by a zip code. On day 1, I will expand Medicaid to over 500,000 uninsured Georgians. Number 3, affordability. We will tackle the rising cost of living to restore affordability for working families and small businesses alike. That means raising the minimum wage from $5.15 to $20 and capping rent increases and providing down payment assistance for the first-time homeowners. Number 4, education. We will finally deliver a 21st century public education by modernizing the outdated 1985 QBE funding formula to critically add a poverty rate so that way every child can thrive and learn. We will also raise the minimum wage for teacher salary to $60,000 and fully fund our public schools. Number 5, our rights. Most importantly, I will be an uncompromising shield for our constitutional rights, fighting every day to protect our civil liberties, our human rights, and the sacred right to vote. I will veto any legislation that restricts voting access, and I will expand early voting and protect absentee voting. To every Georgian, let me be clear. My mission is defined by 5 non-negotiable priorities: family, healthcare, affordability, public education, and our rights. This is more than a platform. It's a commitment to lead with the integrity and service that every citizen of this state deserves. Please visit my website, www.voteDerrickJackson.org, to learn more about my candidacy to become governor. Lastly, on May 19th, I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you, and God bless, and enjoy your evening.
All right. Moving on to Georgia Lieutenant Governor candidates. Running, we have Josh McLaurin, Nabila Parks, and Richard Wright. I see we have Josh McLaurin with us. We were supposed to have Richard Wright with us. I'm not sure if we do. But yeah. So we'll start with Mr. McLaurin. Again, welcome and thank you for being here. And as usual, we'll give you 2 minutes for opening, and then we will ask you some questions.
Sure. Well, thank you, Indivisible. As you can see, I'm not at my desk. I'm on the way to Savannah right now, which is where I launched my campaign, actually, back in May of 2025. So I've been campaigning for about a year, and we've been all over the state. I'm currently a state senator for North Fulton County. I see some of my friends on the call. North Fulton has been the front line for the last few years. And actually, I mean, we did such a good job of bluing that area and making sure that real democratic values were represented, that now the front line has almost moved beyond North Fulton County. And the district that I represent, both formerly in the House, Sandy Springs, Roswell, Johns Creek, but also in the state Senate now, is pretty definitively blue. And it just goes to show that people are ready to move on from the Trump era and reset the machine. That people are very unhappy with not just federal government, but state government as well. The the state level policies, the Republicans that have been carrying water for Trump. All of this has been building up, and I've seen it firsthand in my service in both the House and the Senate. So I'm running for lieutenant governor because it really takes both the passion and the values-driven advocacy that we were doing back when Trump first won in 2016. It takes that fire in your belly, and you got to combine that with some experience and some knowledge of procedure to do an effective job as the president of the Senate. And so that is really what the role is all about. You stand up there on the rostrum, you sort of have the gavel and you're conducting business, but you're also moving policies through that are good. You're stopping bad policies where you can, and it requires the cooperation of the Senate Democratic Caucus and Republicans to be able to be effective in that role. I'm really honored to have the endorsement of 17 of my Senate Democratic colleagues. I think it goes to show that they want me to be up there. They trust me to lead in that way. And I also have the endorsement as of this week of the AFL-CIO statewide, Georgia Equality, former Lieutenant Governor Mark Taylor, and others. And almost 60 of my state legislative colleagues have endorsed me in this race. So I'm really honored by their support. I'm ready to lead. I'm ready to mix that same fire in our belly to push back against the fascism of the Trump administration, but combine that with respect for the rule of law, the procedural expertise, and the ways that I brought value to the role as an attorney. So that is the mix that I'm offering you, and I hope I get the chance to be your nominee for lieutenant governor.
All right, thank you very much for that. And your first question is, what are your ideas for gun safety?
For gun safety, sure. I mean, there's a range, and we've heard already from candidates tonight, there's a range of common sense ideas that a large majority of Georgians support. Things like universal background checks and red flag laws, and bans on weapons of war, including extended magazines and high velocity rounds that do so much damage to the human body. There's plenty of good options for home defense and for lawful Second Amendment loving people to have. And we just need to make sure that the most common sense protections are put in place. And I've sponsored legislation myself in the state legislature, such as a 5-day waiting period for mental health crises, et cetera. Obviously, we know those bills don't move out of a hearing. They don't even get a hearing. Michelle Au and others had the bill to do pediatric safe storage, require common sense safe storage within the house. Responsible gun owners who go to the range, who train, they know that these protections are really important. So it's just about putting those most basic guardrails up. And I've been a gun sense distinction candidate by Moms Demand Action in the past. I will be continuing that same level of advocacy in the future.
Awesome. Question 2 for you. What would your first priorities be should you get elected to the office?
Sure. So, Republicans just say the word affordability, and Democrats are the ones who actually have a bunch of ideas about specifically what we can do. So I look at the biggest cost drivers that any family has, oftentimes is healthcare and housing. So those are two of my major focuses or foci. We've heard expand Medicaid. Obviously, that's the biggest red button that we want to push, or blue button, I should probably call it, immediately. That would cover hundreds of thousands of Georgians overnight, just like we've seen in North Carolina and elsewhere. It would stabilize rural hospitals and bring down costs for everybody in the system. I also think that we can replace the lost federal subsidies. This is an example of a way that state government can be used imaginatively to fix problems that the federal government causes. So like those lost enhanced subsidies that were keeping people's premiums affordable. I have it on good authority from Georgians for a Healthy Future, the nonprofit who works on these issues, that for $700 million a year, we could replace basically all of that federal subsidy program up to 400% of the poverty line. And we do that by taxing insurance companies, which they can afford it, billions of profits, right? And by raising the cigarette excise tax, because we have a below average cigarette tax nationally, which is a good public health policy. So things like that Democrats can be specific about. This is the kind of thing that we should be working toward to make life better for people, more affordable. Same thing with housing. We can do zoning reform to allow for smaller lot sizes and square footage. We can take steps to end corporate ownership of housing, and we can expand it out that we subsidize housing at the state level.
I'm sorry, Mr. McLaurin. We're out of time.
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McLaurin. And again, everybody can check out the link in our packet with Mr. McLaurin's website and his answers to our questionnaire. Do we have Mr. Wright here? Oh, shoot. Yeah. And, sorry, was somebody talking?
Hello?
Mr. Wright?
Yes, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Oh, okay, there we go. All right, Mr. Wright, welcome. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
being
much.
here.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, we'll have the same format for you. You'll have 2 minutes for opening remarks, and then we'll ask you 2 questions. So go ahead with your opening remarks.
Yes. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Wright, and I am at another event, but definitely want to stop by and let everybody know about my campaign. A little bit about me. I am a father. I'm a son. I'm a non-for-profit executive. I'm a small business owner. I have a CPA firm. I'm a failed rapper. I'm a concerned citizen. And I am running on 3 specific issues I think that affect all of Georgians. And that's the affordability issue that we're having right now, because my money is like your money, and our money isn't going far enough. I'm running on civility, because there needs to be a civil tone had with government. And that's the only way that democracy survives and works well. And I'm running off of visionary leadership, because tomorrow, as a result of today, is you're welcome, Dan. You're welcome. Yes, and tomorrow is predicated off today, and so we have to be visionary with our leadership and really speak to not 2027, 2028, but 2032, 2038. And I believe that I'm the person to best do that, and is able to really build a winning coalition around the state, which is going to be critical to win.
All right, thank you very much for that. So your first question, the same, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
Gun safety, the first thing I think we're going to need to do is to finish passing the legislation that gives a tax credit for gun safety locks, because that affects children. And I think that's the first line of defense. We don't want guns getting in the hands of children. And so if we're able to provide some type of financial incentive for gun owners to put up guns, then we will be able to cut down on children, little kids, small kids grabbing a gun and accidentally shooting themselves. And we're going to have a holistic view of, I believe, that how important is the next person, and that's what I think we're gonna have to say, because our Republican friends, they believe in guns and they love guns, but how is important is the next person. And so there's nothing wrong with common sense gun legislation, right? I think we need to have background checks. We have to have a background check to get a lot of things in life. There needs to be one for owning a deadly weapon. And so those are the 2 things I think that can get done throughout the Georgia Assembly in the next session.
All right, thank you for that. Next question, what would be your first priorities should you be elected to the office?
First priority is going to be the expansion of Medicaid. We're going to have to expand Medicaid. Healthy people work long hours, the sick don't work as much, and the dead don't work at all. And so we're going to have to expand Medicaid to save rural area hospitals. I think that, and I'm aggressive, all right, because I'm a CPA, and I think that I can find the money. In metropolitan Atlanta, we're going on almost 4,000 people, but we only have 1 trauma 1 hospital, right? That's the issue. I believe we need a trauma 1 hospital per million people. And so what we're going to have to do is be real aggressive with expanding Medicaid. We've already worked on the certificate of need laws, right? And we need to push them a little further so we can build hospitals within within metropolitan Atlanta, but also within rural area of Georgia. And so a expansion of Medicaid, right? And I like to expand it past the 138%. And because we're going to get $91, yes, but I want to expand it past that to really influence and really get a lot of people insured. And so that's my main thing that I'm going to work on day 1 is the expansion of Medicaid, so we can bring those federal dollars down and we can save our rural area hospitals.
All right, thank you very much. Again, everyone can check out the link in our packet to Mr. Wright's website. The other candidate was Nabila Parks. We don't have her here, and we don't have a video, but everyone can check out the link again for her website and answers to our questionnaire. So yeah, we'll throw it to Joe for Secretary of State. You're muted, Joe.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so next we're going to go through the Georgia Secretary of State candidates, and we'll start with Cam Ashling. Okay.
Hey,
Hi, Ms. Ashling. Thank you for joining us.
hey, can you guys see me okay?
Yes, I can see you fine. So, um,
Okay, great.
so if you could just let us know, starting, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us why you're running. So.
Sure. Cam Ashling here for Georgia Secretary of State. I am a business owner, a licensed professional, a goat farmer. I've been on the ground doing voter protection work for over 10 years. Chasing a ballot, curing ballots, chasing poll tapes, counting votes in warehouses, suing the state of Georgia over SB 202 through my PAC. I've testified in court. I've done everything that we could to protect voters. And the problem is where I need to go to, and that the source of that problem is the Secretary of State. And so I'm running to bring back integrity and trust in an office that has lost so much credibility, right? And I want to bring back a verifiable, auditable, transparent voting systems that we can depend on again. But beyond the election piece, I'm also a licensed professional, and I want to fix that side of the office. And we forget that there are other business sides to the Secretary of State office. And as a business owner, there's also issues in the business registration piece. And as a former stockbroker, I want to help protect our senior population from investment scams that's stealing their life savings. I've been on the ground working for Georgians for decades, and I want to continue to do that as your next Secretary of State.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have a couple of questions, and the first one is a little bit in the weeds here, but there is a current issue facing Georgia related to a 2024 law that was enacted stating that as of July 1st this year, we can no longer use QR codes on ballots, and that's creating a bit of a legislative dilemma related to our elections process. Could you please address that and share your ideas on how to resolve that issue?
So there is a solution that kind of already exists in Georgia's law, and that is if the ballot marking devices are not functioning and working, we can move to the backup system. Okay, what is the backup system? The backup system is hand-marked ballots that we can run scanners through them, and we can continue to operate. We pretty much just need the Secretary of State office to fund the backup system with paper, with additional training, and I think we can do that in 6 months. Other people think that we need to go and have a special session to extend that. I don't particularly think that having our votes hidden in QR codes in one of the most contested races, and with Georgia being such a battleground state, I don't think we should be hiding our votes in QR codes that we can verify. And it's and it's too much of a rush for them to try and buy some other ballot marking devices, these BMDs, so quickly without thoroughly making sure that they're safe for voting. Back in the day, if you guys remember, we were voting on these DRE machines. Yes.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
you've hit your timeline.
That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. And then our second question is, what would be your first priorities should you be elected to office?
Well, my first priority is as a financial analyst, I would be going through and analyzing every single piece and part and division of this office so that we can get a proper analysis to make good judgment calls on specifically, of course, our election system and how to make that safe and fair so that everybody can vote on it with confidence. That includes the Republicans too. So we got to have somebody in this office that people can trust on both sides to be a fair referee and run election. That person, I think, is me. Okay, I've been doing election protection work for a long time. I've also founded nonprofits that are nonpartisan. I'm not backed by political insiders. I am not a politician. And so I think I am the most balanced person for this job if we want to restore trust and confidence in the system.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate your participation tonight. And next, I believe we're speaking with Adrian Consonery Jr.
Hi.
Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. Would you like to introduce yourself to begin?
Yes, indeed. First and foremost, thank you so much to the North Fulton Indivisible chapter for allowing me to be here this evening. I am Adrian Consonery Jr., candidate for Georgia Secretary of State. I am a native of Marietta, Georgia, born and raised out here and made of what this Georgia red clay can make. And right now, I'm telling you that I am the best person to be your next Georgia Secretary of State, simply because I truly believe that those who have been impacted by these decisions of these offices are closest to the power when it comes to the pain that they've been inflicted by. Why do I say that? Back in 2020, while I was a student at Grambling State University, my vote was challenged. I sent in my absentee ballot in the first ever presidential election that I had the opportunity to vote in, and they told me I had 3 days to come back to the state to prove my identity, or else they were throwing out my vote. And when this took place for the primary in general, I recognized that there was a problem that was persisting, even though back in 1965, my right to vote had actions put in place and written in law. And so now I began working in voter advocacy, voter registration, voter education, and voter protection in an effort to make sure that all communities have their voices heard, amplified, and valued. And Georgia, I am ready to do that for you. I'm Adrian Consonery Jr., candidate for Georgia Secretary of State, ready to serve you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. And then our first question is a repeat of the question that I had posed to Ms. Ashling a few minutes ago about the law that takes effect July 1st.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so the first question is about the law that was passed in 2024 that is going into effect July 1st of this year that bans the use of QR codes on ballots in Georgia and the resulting dilemma that's facing our legislature and our elections process, and what your ideas are around that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a firm believer that, well, if you pass something, then you need to make sure that you have the money to back it up. And since we have not been able to properly fund such a policy that has come into place, then we need to make sure that we actually give what can physically happen. And when it comes to these ballots, especially with the QR codes that have the actual person that you voted for right underneath it, the way that we can do our curing of ballots and making sure that everything is correct is when we go back to recount these ballots, making sure that everything matches what the QR codes are saying. So when we go to recount our ballots and we make sure that everything is rectifiable, if it does not match what the ballot says, then yes, something is wrong. However, if we can audit these ballots by what is printed out from the machine, then we should be okay. Now, I do believe that we should have some civility when it comes to these conversations and education brought forward. But when it comes to us having these, if we can't back it up with the funding that is needed, then it should not take place.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the next question would be, what are your first priorities should you be elected to office?
My first priorities, the first 100 days that I am in office, will be dedicated to eradicating the voter registration purging process that has been disenfranchising voters far too long across the entire state of Georgia. In order for us to have up-to-date voter registration rolls, I believe that we should be vouching for same-day registration, like was actually suggested and in bills such as SB 274 in the 2025 legislative session. This allows for people to register to vote they go to vote. So we have these up-to-date voter registration rolls. And then if it comes to someone asking for a mail-in ballot or an absentee ballot, then they can have that happen whenever they actually have to register online to go through the hoops to get that ballot sent to them. This will allow for us to streamline the registration process without disenfranchising voters or inconveniencing voters and making them come back in person to have their voice heard for a democratic process of choosing leaders.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that answer and also for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Great evening, everyone.
Thank you. So next, I believe we have a video message from Dana Barrett, also running for Secretary of State.
I'm Fulton County Commissioner Dana Barrett, and I am running to be Georgia's next Secretary of State. I'm running because too many Georgians are struggling right now. People are struggling to pay for gas at the pump, to pay for childcare, to pay for healthcare. And if you're a small business owner, getting supplies, getting your business up and running, it's all really tough right now. And the truth of the matter is we can't solve those problems or any of the problems plaguing Georgians if we don't have free, fair, and secure elections. That is why I was willing to go to jail to protect our elections in Fulton County, and it's why I'm running to be Georgia's next Secretary of State. I spent most of my career in small business and technology, so I am ready to step in and do this job on day one.
Okay, so it's Laura again, and we're going over our Supreme Court candidates. This is a nonpartisan race, so their election will fall on May 19th. You do not have until November to vote for them. So first up, we have a video from Jen Jordan.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jen Jordan, and I believe that the court, the state constitution, and the laws of this state belong to all Georgians and not just political insiders or the well-connected. And for too long, the Supreme Court has been dominated by insiders appointed by the politically powerful, meaning the decisions that affect every community and made every day are being made by individuals who really haven't earned your trust. You know, for me, it is so incredibly important that we have people on the court that are always going to keep the people of this state front of mind when it comes to decision making and understand the real life impact that a lot of these decisions have. Now, a lot of folks ask me, say, how does the Supreme Court affect me? If you think about anything that you care about in life, if you care about our elections, if you care about our democracy, if you care about your rights, any of the things that are kind of fundamental to our democracy and for how we live our lives, they are impacted by the Georgia Supreme Court. Now, in terms of my own background for the last 25 years, I have been a practicing attorney who has represented individuals, regular people who are facing some of the toughest situations in some of the darkest times of their life. And I have helped folks who homes were being taken from them wrongfully and have had to stop foreclosures in the dead of night, right? I have represented women whose breast cancer treatments have been wrongfully rejected by insurance companies and fought all the way up to make sure that they could get the care that they needed to be able not to just stay alive, but to thrive. And I have gone after the state government what I needed to when it has trampled on the rights of people in this state. And look, I think it's one thing that is so incredibly important to understand, that if you have never represented an individual person in this state, in the courts of this state, but you're making the decisions that actually impact them, then that's a problem. And with respect to the woman that I am running against, that is her background. She has spent her time as an attorney here in the state of Georgia, 2 years before she was handpicked to be on the Georgia Supreme Court, basically making sure that Georgia's abortion ban went into effect, and also doing everything she could to close the courthouse doors to people who believed that they were being harmed by government overreach and unconstitutional actions. When you start with that kind of perspective and then you take that on to the Georgia Supreme Court, none of us should be surprised kind of where we are now and what the outcome has been in terms of someone like that, and with that kind of judicial philosophy and kind of ideological bent, where we would be in terms of a really not great place when it comes to having our rights protected at the state level. Look, I can promise you that my priority day one is going to be the people of this state and making sure that their rights are protected every step of the way. From my perspective, the federal Constitution is the floor. The Georgia Constitution offers Georgia citizens so much more. And I can't wait to be able to serve on the court and to actually be able to make real and substantial change for every single person that lives here. Please vote May 19th, Jen Jordan. Thank Jen for justice. I am just so humbled that all of you are interested in these races and care so much about your community. It is so incredibly important. I have fought every single day of my career as an attorney, and then the 5 years that I was in the state Senate for the people that I represented and others. And I can promise you that what I've done in the past won't come close to what I'll be able to do in the future. Thank you.
And next we have a video from Miracle Rankin.
Good evening, Indivisible North Metro Atlanta and Third Act Georgia. I'm Miracle Rankin, and I want to begin by thanking you for your endorsement and for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I'm truly grateful for your support, and I'm honored to have the backing of people who care so deeply about democracy, justice, and the future of Georgia. Although I may not be with you live for the forum, I wanted to take the opportunity to share directly why I'm running for the Georgia Supreme Court. I'm running because I believe that our courts should work for the people of Georgia. That means for everyone. For many families, the court is the place that they turn to when something has gone wrong, when they need fairness, and when they need accountability. And it's important that they know that when they come before the courts, that the law will be applied equally and with integrity. Our justice system matters not just in theory, but in the everyday lives of real people across our state. And I've spent my legal career representing people in some of the most tragic moments of their lives. I've seen firsthand what it means when someone enters the legal system carrying pain, uncertainty, and the hope that they will be treated fairly before the courts. Those experiences have shaped me. They have deepened my belief that judges must be prepared, impartial, disciplined, and faithful to the law, but also grounded in the understanding that every case affects real human lives. I'm also running because public trust in our judiciary is essential. The Georgia Supreme Court makes decisions with enormous consequences for communities across our state. That responsibility calls for experience, sound judgment, integrity, and a serious commitment to equal justice under the law for all. And I believe that representation matters. Our institutions are strongest when people can see themselves reflected in them, not only in who serves, but in the breadth of experience, perspective, and understanding that is brought to the work. A court that belongs to all Georgians must serve all Georgians. And the heart of my candidacy is a simple belief. Justice should be fair. Courts should be trusted, and every person should know that they will be heard. That is why I'm running for the Georgia Supreme Court. Thank you again to Indivisible North Metro Atlanta for your endorsement, for this invitation, and for the work that you do every day to keep people engaged and informed. I'm deeply honored to have your support, and I would be grateful to earn the support of everyone who is watching. Thank you. Have a great evening.
All right. So moving on, we have candidates for Georgia Public Service Commission, District 5, Craig Cupid, Sheila Edwards, and Angelia Pressley. I see Angelia Pressley. Is Sheila Edwards with us tonight?
She's not here.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess we will move on to Miss Angelia Pressley. Is she here? Or okay, do we want to do Cupid's video first?
I'm Craig Cupid, candidate for Georgia Public Service Commission. I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, Barter Village. My parents immigrated from Trinidad and Tobago. My dad was an electrician. My mom was an office worker and a veteran. We were a low-income family, and in our house, every penny counted. During those hot Georgia summers, we only ran the AC in the evening so we could at least sleep comfortably at night. So I grew up understanding that energy bills may affect how much groceries or other necessities you may be able to obtain. Every penny counted. When my wife Lisa and I were both unemployed during the Great Recession, Lisa pregnant with our first child, every penny still counted. Those lessons growing up never left me. So when I look at the PSC, the body that decides how much Georgia families pay for electricity, I don't see an abstract policy question. I see my parents. I see families right now making the same choices we made. I'm an electrical engineer from Georgia Tech and an attorney. I spent 5 years as an engineer working on complex data and telecommunication issues. Then over 15 years as an intellectual property attorney, 5 years as a partner at one of the largest law firms in the country, working with the exact technology shaping Georgia's energy future. AI, data centers, electric vehicles, renewable energy, telecommunications. My entire career built toward this moment. Voters should ask every candidate in this race a basic question. Are you running because you're uniquely prepared for the PSC or because you're looking for the next available office? This isn't the next rung on a ladder for me. This office has never seen a background like mine that includes engineering, legal training, and just as important, if not more, life experience that can directly protect Georgia families and small businesses. The next question, what would I do to ensure affordable energy for Georgia residents? First, real accountability on cost. The PSC approved new generation capacity largely for data centers at a lifetime cost estimated to be over $50 billion. Before we commit families to decades of cost for new gas plants, we need to verify that the demand is real and that ratepayers aren't left holding the bag. Second, cost-effective energy solutions. Georgia is home to one of the best engineering schools in the country and a thriving innovation economy. We should be leading on energy innovation, not retreating to the same expensive fuel sources that got us here. Solar is increasingly the cheapest new generation you can build. Third, helping families use less and pay less. The cheapest kilowatt hour is the one you never use. I'll push for expanded weatherization and energy efficiency programs, especially for low-income families and seniors living in older, less efficient homes. because lowering usage lowers bills immediately. What would be my first priorities? Day one, first convert the large load contract review from a filing requirement to an approval requirement. The PSC should vote on every major contract and demand verifiable accounting for every promise. Second, I'll build real relationships, working alongside local elected leaders, faith communities, consumer advocates, and other organizations, the people already fighting for ratepayers. In closing, District 5 is the third vote. This is about whether ratepayers finally have a majority that stops building yesterday's energy economy for the benefit of the few and starts building a stable, affordable energy future for the many. And at its core, this race is about respect. I'm running because the PSC needs someone who respects ratepayers enough to listen to their concerns and respects the role enough to maintain true independence. Someone who understands the engineering, reads the fine print, and has the training and will to be an advocate for ratepayers. Georgia families and small businesses deserve a PSC that respects them as much as utilities respect their shareholders. I'm Craig Cupid, family man, engineer, attorney, and the son of immigrants who grew up counting every penny. I'd be honored to have your support. Visit cupidforpsc.com. Love Georgia, vote Cupid. Thank you.
All right. Moving on, do we have Ms. Pressley with us?
Yes. Hello. Hello, Third Act and Indivisible. My name is Angelia Pressley for the Georgia Public Service Commission. And yes, it's great to see you guys again as I see you at the commission fighting for ratepayers, as I have been. I have been a business owner for over 20 years, an environmental sustainability consultant for over 13 years, and a university professor for over 7 years. So why am I in this race? I'm in this race because I was there at the PSC meetings, listening to ratepayers, also giving testimony on my own. And the three decisions that really prompted me to run in this race were, one, the biomass hearing. The commissioner said, it's going to hurt a little, but it's going to bail out the timber industry and give code truck drivers job when people were just looking for relief. Secondly, when the PSC allowed the farmers to lose their land based on a billionaire's interest in the railroad, and those farmers are still fighting an appeal. And finally, when they voted for $16 billion and 10 gigawatts of more natural gas and oil and natural gas, I was livid. I just couldn't turn away. I wish I didn't see it. And the more I dug, the more I saw how devastating those decisions were. And my background is in environmental sustainability. So I've been working with a solar project to be sure that there's the economic opportunities for my students, and also green energy, because it is much lower, and that would lower the bills for consumers. I plan to visit all 5 districts and look at this holistically. And no, I don't need an engineering degree because I'm not going to be tying the lines together. I'm going to be making policies for you so that you have what you need holistically. Georgia has some of the oldest homes, and so we do need to figure out and evaluate the homes. We need to evaluate the grids from all the brownouts, the blackouts, and finally put some resources toward it. Georgia Power only allows $1.5 million in their resources, and they should be reinvesting so much more so that seniors can have, and lower income individuals can have bill assistance, weatherization, and so we can finally fix this grid. Secondly, green energy does cost less.
I'm
Right
sorry,
now,
Miss Presley, we've reached the end of the 3 minutes.
okay. All right, I didn't think. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Do we want to move on to the next slide then?
Can we bring her back and ask her questions?
Okay, do we want to, Ms. Pressley, do you want to answer these questions?
Yes, I would love
if you want, you sort of already went over this, but do you have anything more to add about ensuring affordable energy costs for Georgia residents?
Yes. So the data centers, the $16 billion that the data centers were awarded, Georgia Power was awarded for the data centers. I would ensure that that is not passed down to the ratepayers, as well as we need an independent study to understand the environmental impact before these data centers come off of the moratoriums that they're under. So there is just so much to do on the Public Service Commission. And I've been in that fight over about 3 years now, working with a number of environmental agencies, working with Peter Hubbard, Patty Durand, and a number of other individuals at the PSC to understand what needs to happen first. And so everything that I'm telling you, they're all doable. I've been talking to staff, letting them know what my plans were, and so verifying everything that I'm promising. Any other questions for me?
Yeah. What would your first priorities be should you get elected?
My first priority would be two priorities. One, evaluate the entire grid and housing stock so that we can understand what needs to be the priority. I would also need to have an independent study in terms of the way we make decisions. The way we're able to make decisions is flawed. And so an independent study of some of the things like redaction, the public doesn't get to see some of the things that are behind the curtain that actually aren't trade secrets, and we need to understand what we're getting ourselves into. After all, we are the investors for the utility and for the shareholders. So if there is information that we need to decide, and the ratepayers would be my first priority, which is why I plan to do the tour through the 5 districts so that I can have data and analytics on what's actually happening, and then I can make my decision from there. But it's all going to be based on my background of data analytics, primary research, and as an environmental consultant.
All right.
For the past 13 years.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Pressley. Thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think with that, we'll move on to Joe for Congressional District 7.
Okay, great. So we have 3 of the candidates live with us tonight for the U.S. House, Georgia District 7. We have Mr. Kozycki, Mr. Norton, and Mr. Toweh. And then after that, we'll hear from Larry Long via a video address. So first up, we'd like to speak with Mr. Kozycki.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Could you give us some introductory remarks? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. My name is Tony Kozycki. I'm a Democrat running for the 7th Congressional District, and I'm going to beat Rich McCormick in November. A little bit about me is I'm a father. I got 2 young kids in elementary school. It's a large part of why I'm running right now. I think this country is heading in the wrong direction, and the next generation deserves leaders that are willing to right the ship. Another thing about me is I'm a Navy combat veteran. I graduated from the United States Naval Academy. I flew fighter jets in the Navy for 10 years, over 3 combat deployments. After my time in the Navy, I moved back home to Georgia. I built a law practice. I work every day with my mom and my wife. We're all attorneys, and we work every day helping families across Georgia navigate different avenues of the legal system. A large part of our practice is immigration law, and we see every day the effects of the current policies of this administration. One of those was something that we came encounter to with a man named Godfrey Wade. Godfrey's a U.S. Army veteran that was deported from this country and stripped of his green card without ever getting a day in court, we reached in to help Godfrey. And as a veteran myself, I reached out to my representative, Rich McCormick. He's a veteran, Rich is, and Godfrey's a veteran. And I said, we need to help this gentleman and give him what the law owed him, which was 1 day in court. Rich refused to even lift a finger to help Godfrey Wade. And that showed to me a much bigger problem inside the 7th District. And that's something I hear every day as I talk to people throughout our district, is that we don't have a representative that cares about their constituents. And that's why I got in this race. That needs to change, and that's exactly what I plan to change when I get to Washington. So my name is Tony Kozycki. I'm a Democrat running here in the 7th District, and I'm going to beat Rich McCormick in November. I hope to earn your vote and your support. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Kozycki. And we do have a couple of questions for you. The first one being, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
Yeah, I think this is a huge thing that we need to address throughout our country. As I mentioned, I have 2 young kids. It hurts my soul to hear the drills that they have to do in their classrooms to learn how to avoid gun violence. And these are solutions that we have to solve immediately. One issue I think we've heard numerous times already throughout this meeting is we need safe storage laws. I think something I hear over and over again, I work in and have spoken a lot with the Georgia majority, and gun safety is gun safety, and that's it, and that's what we want. So we need new safe storage laws, and we need to promote that, not just here in Georgia, but that needs to be a federal initiative, that we need to create strong legislation that protects our country. Beyond that, I think we need to highlight closing some of these loopholes that allow for universal background checks. I think we need to modernize the ATF system. I think we're still in paper documents. These are small steps that we need to take to get our country back in the right direction. The NRA has taken a position for far too long that any measure to protect or to regulate guns is unacceptable. We need to try to find bipartisan steps that will help us work together to solve this national crisis.
Okay, thank you for that. And the next question is, what would be your first priorities should you be elected to office?
So there are some major things that I want to do on day one. One of them is something that I don't think has any partisanship to it, and that is work with Democrats and Republicans alike to pass legislation that bans congressional insider trading. Every one of us has lost trust in our government. That's why I got in this race. I don't trust that people up in Washington are looking out for the best interests of me and my family. One of those reasons is every time I look up to Washington, including when I look at Rich McCormick, I see them filling their pockets based on the insider information that they're learning up in Washington. It's unacceptable. And when I get there, I hope to pass legislation with my partners up there on both sides of the aisle that stops this dangerous practice that is losing trust in the American people. In that same respect, to build back trust, we need to investigate all of the dirty deals that have gone on in the most recent time up in Washington, where people are stripping the wealth out of the American system and filling their pockets because, corruption has run rampant. So I'm going to work with Democrats that are going to be rushing up to Washington in this new blue wave to help investigate all of the dirty deals and crooked arrangements that have happened, find them, investigate them, prosecute them, and take back the money that was unlawfully taken and put that back into our system so that we can rebuild the working class. We need to stop this divide that's going.
Mr. Kozycki,
Yes.
You've hit your timeline for this question. Thank you.
Oh, this is Larry Long. Can you hear me? I am here.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hey,
good.
Larry.
So well then, so why don't we go ahead and we can talk to Mr. Long next. We're actually kind of going in alphabetical order, so that works out. Mr. Kozycki, thank you again for your time tonight.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Can you turn on my camera?
Is your video on, Mr. Long?
It's saying that the host has my my camera turned off.
Oh, you're in as a participant right now. We weren't expecting you, so you don't have the right access to turn on your camera right now.
Okay,
So,
I can do it without a camera. So just tell me when.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, yeah, I am Larry Long, and I am running for District 7 House of Representatives. And I think, what best describes me are three words: direct, defiant, and done. I am direct and committed to safeguarding both constitutional, environmental, as well as ensuring all of our constitutional freedoms. I am defiant by not voting to fund bills that remove our constitutional freedoms, our social safety net programs like Social Security, and I will work to make sure that Social Security and human health programs are fully funded for the next generation of Americans. And I will work to restructure ICE, and we can't have federal forces killing our citizens. And I am done with the hypocrisy and the lies and the corruption of this administration. No longer shall we live under the tyranny of a wannabe king that is drunk on power and the GOP to be his codependents. The Speaker of the House just recently swore in, what's his name, the new Georgia, that District 14, I think it was. It took him less than a week. When Grijalva was running, it took him over it was like 2 months before they would swear her in. These are the games, the partisan games that they've been playing that we have to get rid of. And I am a moderate Democrat, fiscally responsible and socially liberal. The current deficit is 37 trillion and rising. Yet somehow this administration can find $200 million a day to fight a war that Congress did not approve. And they can't find any way to fully fund Social Security or our social programs. I don't think that our budget should be balanced on the back of the working class. So why the House of Representatives? Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution states that the House has the power of the purse, therefore the power to make positive social and economic changes that support the people's everyday lives, and the power to balance the budget, but again, not on the back of the middle class. And the House has the power of impeachment. We must be very strategic on this issue, and I think that we have full accountability on the Epstein files. You've seen that they're starting to remove some of his cabinet members, and I think Hedgepeth is next. I think they filed for articles of impeachment, which is something that we need to do to get rid of his power base. I'm a mediator, and I study the power dynamics within a dispute. And the power in this administration is money. And we need to come up with programs to level that playing field so that the people have a fair stake. The House
Mr.
has,
Long,
yes.
I apologize. Your 3 minutes for an opening statement is up. You will be asked some
okay.
questions then.
Okay, and I would also like to apologize for the technical issue. I think the problem was that we had you listed under a different name, and so I was able to update that. It looks like you're on camera now.
Yeah,
So,
I'm on camera.
So I apologize for that. We do have two questions for you. The first is, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
Several years ago, they put it under the name of tort reform. So you can't sue these Saturday night special companies. So we need to be able to sue them when they mass produce these crazy guns out there. We need to get rid of 3D printed guns. We need to support our law enforcement so that they can go out and actually get the guns out of the hands of criminals. There's just so many things with gun control. I actually own a gun. I would give up my gun if everybody else gave up their gun. Australia got rid of their gun laws, and they're a much safer place.
Okay, wonderful. So the second question is, what would be your first priorities should you be elected to office?
Restoring democracy and doing that through the budget. They always get rid of our social safety nets when Republicans come into power. So again, focusing on their power and their money and getting rid of the constant hypocrisy of how everybody is taking advantage of all these. I actually live on Social Security, and it's very difficult. I also have a small pension because I just retired from the federal government December the 31st. But if people that are just living on Social Security alone, I could see that's a definite struggle. But we need to bring back our democracy, get rid of the tyranny of this guy to try to regulate our votes. It's a state. I mean, everything in the Constitution, he wants to get rid of everything unless it benefits him. And so he's always talking about he wants to abide by the Constitution, but at the same time, he's destroying our Constitution and we're losing our rights every single day.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Long, and we're glad that you're able to join us live tonight. So I think next we're going to be hearing from Case Norton.
Hey, can you allow me to start my video? Please and thank you. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Great. Can y'all see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Right on. Just start?
Yes, please.
Cool. Awesome. Well, first off, I want to thank everyone for the people in the chat for coming and watching this and listening to all of our spiels. I want to thank Indivisible North Metro Atlanta for the invitation and for the candidate questionnaire before. I really do appreciate it. A little bit about me. My name is Case Norton. I am a father, I am a husband, and I have been a member of the film industry for the last 20 or so years. So used to very long hours, used to coordinating with people and collaborating with people in different departments in order to push things forward and to be able to make our day, which is what I intend to do in Congress. I intend to reach across the aisle, speak with folks, pull at their heartstrings when it's necessary, and actually move to get things done. Because right now, we don't have representation from a working class standpoint. Only about 2% of Congress come from working class backgrounds. Meanwhile, over 60% of the American labor force is considered working class. Over 95% of Congress come from white collar backgrounds, and about 34% are attorneys. It's time we get someone in there who's working class. Now, our campaign has not been funded by ourselves. We have not had a retirement. We have not had a massive savings account to pull from. This has been a collaborative effort from hundreds of different contributions since last year, and we couldn't be any prouder with where we are. So with your support, we're looking to represent the working class folks, everyday families, retirees, college students, folks on disability, every single person in this district, whether they will vote for me or not in November.
Okay, wonderful. And we do have a couple of questions for
Yes.
you. And the first one, again, is what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
Now, we live in a very lax gun law state, and I think that a lot of the legislation that needs to happen in our own state needs to also happen nationwide. First thing I'm supportive of are red flag laws. I think those are absolutely paramount. Background checks are also very imperative. I think we need to look at closing the gun show loopholes that allow folks purchasing firearms to avoid the background check. That needs to go completely. That's where a lot of the mismatch comes in with understanding who owns firearms versus who doesn't. Another thing is I would say I've been seeing advertisements for this product called Stop Box. It's essentially a gun storage thing that takes pressure points from your fingerprints so that children and folks with really just children and younger folks can't get into that safe. Because if we have a key to unlock it, or if it's biometric, or if it's just a password or something, kids can still get in. But when it's pressure point activated, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to get in there. So I'm a big fan of something like that. The last but not least, this is going to go kind of into my policies, but expanding mental health services with Medicare for All, because a lot of times we have people that are upset with system, upset at where they are at life, or upset with not being able to have the resources that they need to talk things through and do things in a healthy manner. So they end up resorting to these drastic measures, such as taking a gun and taking someone's life or taking their own life.
Mr. Norton?
Yep.
Time is called.
Sorry? Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for the answer to that question. And our next one is, what would be your first priorities should you be elected to office?
When I get elected to office, my first priorities are simple. I'm a member of a 100+ candidate coalition called the Courage Coalition with citizens impeachment. We are looking to, on day one, file articles or sign on to existing articles of impeachment for Donald J. Trump for treason, bribery, corruption, and a litany of other drafts that we have ready to go. Secondly, I would like to co-sponsor a ton of active bills. As much as I would like to introduce bills, there are active bills that have been introduced that need more co-sponsors. Something such as Abolish ICE Act, which is and holding those folks that have broken the law and broken people's constitutional rights and violated their civil liberties accountable. Next, I would co-sponsor the Medicare for All Act because I believe healthcare is a human right, not just a privilege for those who can afford it. Next, I would co-sponsor the PRO Act in order to strengthen worker protections. I would also co-sponsor right to repair legislation that would allow farmers to repair their own equipment instead of going to monopolies that are going to charge them an arm and a leg. Next up, I would co-sponsor bills, and I already have one written as well, but I would prefer to co-sponsor something that's already in existence that would prevent PFAS from poisoning our food supply. Because I don't know about you, but I'm sick of hearing stories about people having plastic in their bodies and what have you. So I don't want that for my kids. I don't want that for your kids. We need to ban that. Next up, I would co-sponsor the Pelosi Act and the Trust in Congress Act because we need to get congressional stock trading out of there immediately. There's no way that people should be able to do that with insider information.
Thank you, Mr. Norton.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We
That's
appreciate
fine. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Norton, for attending tonight. Okay. And next, I believe we're speaking with Mr. Toweh.
Mr. Toweh?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great.
Great. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you could tell us a little bit about your candidacy and why you're running.
Yeah, excited to be here. One sec. Hi, everyone. So my name is Jayson Toweh, and I'm running for Congress in District 7. So I grew up in Cobb County, Georgia, where I graduated from Kennesaw Mountain High School. And when I was in Cobb County, that's where I really found my passion for the environment and really my focus in humanitarian efforts. One of the most impactful trips I had was going to Kenya as a junior and really working on bringing water quality to a village there. That really centered my work as an environmental scientist while I was at Michigan studying and working in community building and organizing around issues related to the environment, energy, and human health. Especially after the 2016 election, when I brought many groups together in a group called Call to Action as we worked to advocate for health issues at environmental along with education. I continued that work at Harvard, where I studied environmental health and really focused on doing my master's looking at how harmful air pollutants are impacting our health. Looking across the whole country with EPA's Air Markets Program database, I could assess if we cleaned up these systems, what the health benefits would be. In 2021, I pitched an idea about what would be the benefits if we went 100% renewable in Georgia and how we could do that to the Georgia Climate Conference. At that time, as I met from the PSC at that point, saying that, as some folks met, that we would rather cut our forests down versus actually moving towards clean energy. So in that work, I continued at the EPA, where I worked in the Inspector General's office, working on fraud, waste, and abuse. So as a federal auditor, looking at how we can root out waste in the government and actually inherent in work on our laws and protect the environment. At that same time, I ran for the Harvard Board of Overseers, which is the governing body of the university, and was the youngest elected in almost the 400-year history. We really wanted to get the university to divest from fossil fuels and increase climate education. And I was excited to say that they did that within a year of our election and my election, and 2 years for the divestment, and then created Climate Institute. Over the last 5 years, I've been at Stanford working on climate, energy, and health, and really that draws to why I'm running. I'm running because I saw in Georgia that we had folks at risk when the power goes out. So Medicare and Medicaid beneficiaries, especially if you're on a life-saving device. You don't have, if the power's out, you might have a few hours of backup power, but that's it. We're seeing hospital closures when a state that hasn't expanded Medicaid. We've seen ACA premiums rise and subsidies cut. We're the number 2 state with data center development projects and not any regulations really on looking at how they're not going to pollute our air and our rivers and streams. We've seen a lot of potential jobs that could be lost with AI and not a lot of programs about how we can train the generation for the future.
Mr.
So I'm running
Toweh,
to
your
really
time.
bring that to the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we do have a couple of questions for you tonight. The first question is, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
So unfortunately, we've seen too many shootings, whether that's school shootings at schools like, these are out of the district, but whether it's Appalachia or even a couple of weeks ago in a community event on 404 Day. We've seen a lot of, honestly, unpermitted guns committing these crimes. A couple of the legislation that I really would want to pass immediately is universal background checks on all purchases. Growing up in Georgia, it was the place where you could go to Walmart and walk in and walk out with a gun that night. That shouldn't be the case. We need to have some background checks at start. Also, a psych evaluation. Again, a lot of these guns are purchased and then within 2 or 3 days, someone is committing a crime, whether that's a murder, suicide, whatnot. Having a psych evaluation at least gives a period to understand if we should give these. And really working to limit these permitless guns off the street. So when we do find them, to actually collect them and really working to identify. Honestly, in a state that lets Georgia, where you can carry guns kind of in any event really makes that difficult. So working honestly to have some limits on where guns actually can be brought in. And then really when we are identifying different efforts of fraudulent activity with the guns, actually working to collect them. Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
great.
One last thing also, I just want to say is that I talked about the psych evaluation and it goes with my healthcare, but really expanding the access to mental health to actually, especially starting at a young age and especially with young boys and men.
Thank you, Mr. Toweh.
Great, thank you for that answer. And then finally, what would be your first priority should you be elected to office?
Yeah, so my first priority, and there's always many things, but I'll just talk about when I reference about my work with Medicare and Medicaid. It's something that's deeply personal to me. I grew up had a very insecure upbringing, whether it was housing, food, or healthcare. And even now, my mom's on Medicare and she's in this community that actually needs these. So I'd work to basically pass a bill that expands reimbursements for backup generators and solar panels. So for Medicare and Part B, you can just for various durable medical equipment, so our dialysis systems, ventilators. Immediately, I would work to include that on these other devices because those can be life sustaining. And right now, they're not covered, and they're only honestly a few $100s, maybe $400 or $500, but that can save a life, especially with hospital closures. So that would be the first thing. These Power to Patients Act. And as I'm working on that, like I said, I want to enshrine healthcare as a human right to expand healthcare for all and Medicare for all. But we would start right now with this bipartisan support, protecting our most vulnerable when they lose power. You can find out more about me at tlwehforcongress.com. I appreciate being here and was glad to speak to you all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Mr. Toweh. We appreciate your participation. And I believe next we're moving on to Georgia House District 49.
Yes, and that would be me here. So we have a live candidate here, Teresa Lin, to talk about Georgia House District 49.
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Lin, and I am running to represent voters in Georgia House District 49. Thank you all for this opportunity. I am grateful to be here with you. I'm a mother, a former educator, and a longtime community volunteer. I've spent my life working with people, working with Girl Scouts, bringing them together, and working to solve real problems. Whether it was teaching in the classroom or working with a troop of girls or organizing in my community, even while I was living abroad, I have always believed that when people come together, we can make meaningful change. I am running in House District 49 because too many families, including my own, are feeling the pressure, whether it's the rising cost of healthcare, concerns about our school quality, wanting safer communities for our children. All of these issues, I believe, and I know that we can do better. We can do things differently. I am focused in my term on making healthcare more affordable, strengthening our public schools, and supporting sensible policies that keep our neighborhoods safe while respecting the values that make our communities strong and hold us all together. This campaign is about listening, showing up, and working together to build a future that reflects all of us in this district, not just the same voices that we have heard from Chuck Martin's representation over the last 23 years. As I have been working in this district and talking with people, I am hearing consistently that they do not know who Chuck Martin is. I would like for my voters to say they know me and know me well and know that I represent them. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I hope to earn your support. Please go to www.linforthewin.com to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. And we have the same two questions for you. First question would be, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
I think for gun safety legislation, there is really nothing different than the other panelists have said tonight. I do believe in safe storage. I also believe in wait times. I believe in closing the loophole for gun shows. I believe that when someone is found to have mental illness or mental difficulties, we should be able to remove guns from them for a period of time. All of those things are important. But I do want to add this, and this is something for us to think about. Dr. Al spoke to a group of women, and I was in attendance. I listened very carefully to this. She said that we must look at gun violence as an epidemic, a health epidemic. When we are able to speak about gun violence as a health epidemic in our communities, we will change hearts and minds. I consider this to be similar to cigarette smoking in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Back in those days, many of us can remember that cigarettes were everywhere. They were in cars, they were in bars, they were in every closed environment. And there was a public push to change the way that people viewed cigarette smoking. I will work with Dr. Al and others on the initiatives that they put forward. And in addition to that, excuse me, I will work with Dr. Al and others to make sure that we look at gun violence as the epidemic that it is, the health crisis that it truly is.
Thank you for that. And your second question is what would your first priorities be should you be elected to office?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. So my first priority is a very personal priority, and that is healthcare premiums and healthcare cost. My own family is struggling with a $3,000 a month health premium bill. So that means that our premiums are at $36,000 a year. And then when we go to the doctor, we have a $10,000 copay. So we could very easily, as a family of four, be looking at somewhere close to $50,000 in medical bills before we get very much help in covering. That is, for many people, ourselves included, quite a heavy burden. That cannot be sustained. It is a system that will not sustain itself, and it will be one of my top priorities. I also, in addition, want to expand. I want to be a part of the push to expand Medicaid for all. We need to expand Medicaid in Georgia. It is shameful that we haven't. And I believe that a woman's right to choose is of paramount importance, and we must return that in Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Geoff, I was not sure if we had a slide of all the candidates for House District 59, but if not, I will pass it over to Amanda for House District 53.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. Georgia House District 53, excuse me. The two candidates are Tim Dorr and Beth Fuller. There it is. There's their websites. I believe neither one of them are here tonight, but I believe they both have videos that we're going to watch.
Hey there, Tim Dorr here. I'm running for State House District 53. Sorry I couldn't be there with you guys tonight. I'm running an event at this exact same time. I'm there right now, but I want to record this video so you get a chance to get to know me. So, number one question I always get, why am I running? I work with founders and entrepreneurs in the area. I've been doing that for 20 plus years, helping them out with advice and connections of whatever kind of resources I can give them. And I've noticed something pretty concerning about that community in the last couple of years. A lot of them are giving up. They're putting their dreams on hold, and that's because they're getting crushed by this economy. We're all feeling it. This affordability crisis is real, no matter what they say at the top, and it's something that we can all feel across. Housing costs, healthcare costs are insane. Gas station and grocery store prices, or just everyday life. And it's something that we need to fix to help everyone get back on track. We need a government that supports the people rather than works against them. And I think that's what this role is going to be something I'm working on. It's kind of my number one thing is to see how I can help out people around me. And this is a way I can see a path to doing that. I'm no longer content with simply just casting my vote every couple of years and hoping it all works out. I need to get more directly involved. And I think by flipping this seat, flipping the House, flipping the Senate, and getting Georgia back on track to supporting its people is what we need right now. So that's my motivation, is to help do that for my district, help as many other districts as possible, make that happen, and get us back to work. So, it's a couple questions here. First off, what are my first priorities going to be? So, again, attacking that problem of affordability first and foremost. It's kind of underpinning for everything else. I mean, you can't really focus on any of the other issues if you can't afford to live or stay here even, which is unfortunately becoming a problem for a lot of people. If you look at like housing costs, they're insane. We need to figure out how to get better housing that's more affordable to everyday folks. We need to fix the healthcare system in this state because it is absolutely insanely out of control. I was looking at healthcare plans for my family last year on the marketplace, and it was like 2 to 3x the price for worse coverage. So just not great. And then, we need to also be looking at childcare and education as a part of this as well. We need to cancel the voucher program and get, our education system invested back into. And we need to be looking at childcare options that help people get back to work. People are having to give up jobs too because they can't afford childcare, so they can't afford to go to work and leave their kids alone. We need some common sense, practical solutions to these problems. Another question here on gun safety legislation. I'm a big supporter of it. I signed the Georgia Majority Pledge more recently. I think evidence-based, common sense gun laws are needed. We need to go forward on that, not backwards. We need laws around licensing. Access to guns needs to be restricted to risky individuals, or loopholes like the gun show loophole need to be closed. We need safe storage laws and systems in place. We need to incentivize around that too, to get the manufacturer to build those systems in. Whether it's smart triggering or smart locking, we need ways to keep guns out of children's hands so that we do not have the crisis of gun deaths that we have right now. And there are plenty of ways to both penalize people who are not doing the things and incentivize them to do the right thing. I think we put more incentives in place. That's the way to work with the carrot rather than the stick. I think that's it for the questions. So again, great to have a chance to send this video to all of you. Please make sure you get out and vote for the May 19th primary and the down ballot nonpartisan general election that's happening that same day. Let's get Jen Jordan and Miracle Rankin voted in. All right, thanks. See you guys.
All right, next candidate is Beth Fuller, and I believe she also has a video.
Hi, my name is Beth Fuller. I'm a lifelong Georgian, a mother, and a public health professional. I'm standing here in front of the CDC where I worked for 10 years before my contract was terminated due to Trump's budget cuts. When that happened, I knew it was time to step up for my community. I'm running to stand up to Trump's reckless agenda that's driving costs up for families and creating chaos in our community. I'm running to fight for you in the state legislature. Our current representative is out of touch with the community. House District 53 deserves a representative who will not only vote in alignment with our values, but one that doesn't run away when hard votes need to be taken. I will bring my voice for science and responsible common sense policy to the Capitol. On my first day in office, I will be fighting for Medicaid expansion, for fully funded public schools, for legislation that brings down the cost for working families, and for responsible gun policy. Our children deserve to be safe when they go to school. Our children deserve to grow up without fear of violence, and we can't wait any longer to take action. I will fight for universal background checks, for mental health evaluations for buyers, and safe storage laws. I am ready to take on the gun lobby and to fight for Georgians. I envision a state where we build bridges to find solutions for our communities. I envision a state where the chaos of Washington does not determine our policy outcomes in Georgia. This has to end. A vote for me on May 19th is a vote for common sense, for evidence-based policy. I am ready to fight for the people of Georgia on the campaign trail and every day that I serve in the legislature. Thank you.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, we'll be speaking with Mr. Patrick Thompson, who is running for Georgia Senate, District 56.
Yes. Let me put.
Okay, so we can hear you now. I'm not able to see you yet.
Oh, you can.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Can you see this? Can you see this shirt? I spend my time explaining to people what this shirt is all about. Oh, what's that? What is that? I explain to people, hey, I've been through this before. I know what we're going through. And we can live through it again. So what would you like to talk about? 56 is the last senatorial district in Georgia. It was the last one put together. That's why it's at the end. So what would you like to talk about?
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, if you could start with just a brief introduction to yourself and why you're running for office.
Yeah, so I've run for this office. I think this is my 8th time. I've been gerrymandered twice. They really don't want to see me go in this spot. This is one of the most. The spot is John Albers. He owns it at this point. It is the, if you know anything about this area, which is where Roswell and Woodstock and Cobb County come together, it's the Bermuda Triangle. It's been fought over for a long time. It's been Republican forever. It's I think, the most educated area in any state that votes not with Democrats. It votes for Republicans every time. It's been locked for here for a long time. There's been some people that have broken through, like you met Josh earlier. It's just very difficult. So I'm used to working from the opposition. So my background is one of, I've taught school. I've been a park ranger. I was a park ranger at the Reagan White House. I met the Reagans. I worked with them. They were just glad to have somebody to talk to. And I was there when they took the panels that Jimmy Carter put on the White House. They took them off. Because why? Because the oil and gas lobby said to do that. They have to do it. So I've been working against powerful lobbies and powerful industries for a long time. When I started out, I was teaching sciences, and I was told, hey, don't teach about dinosaurs. You mean, I'm teaching in Southside Virginia where they mine coal. What is coal? Old dinosaurs and plants that are mashed together, and we make oil out of them. It's like roadkill. Why I cannot talk about that. So it was very odd for me to be anti-science. I'm a new science guy. I was told I couldn't teach computers because I was not a math major.
Mr.
So
Thompson, we have
yes,
hit your deadline for your introduction.
okay.
Okay, thank you for those remarks. And I just do have a couple of questions for you. The first being, what are your ideas for gun safety legislation?
Well, since my guy is the head of public safety for the Georgia Senate, he was put there because he used to cosplay being a fireman. I haven't found anybody who's actually fought a fire with him, but he puts on his uniform and plays at it. He's never trained for anything. I've been in scouts. I taught both his sons about scouting and how to be an eagle. Safety is not his same thing. When he did a safety thing a couple years ago, one of the governors gave him the idea to go out and ask about education. My wife's an educator. I'm an ex-educator. Go out and find some ideas for how do we keep guns out of schools. His answer to everything was more guns, concealed weapons. So I think we need to get over the gun thing. We need to stop it, even though it's out there and it's available. As a scout leader, I've had 100 Eagles at this point. We teach gun safety. You do not touch a gun. You do not even look at a gun until you've had gun safety. And we do not require that here. We should. Anybody who's working with guns should have a requirement to do that. If we can make kids do it, adults can do it. I know nobody wants to. Well, we've got to stop the violence. And as a teacher, my wife goes in every day, and it's like, and my grandkids are now coming home as they're starting school. My grandkids are playing a game. What game are you playing? Oh, we're playing active shooter drill.
Mr.
That's a
Thompson,
game. Yes.
let's move on to your next question, please.
Okay. Don't play
Thank
that
you,
game.
Mr. So the second question is, what would be your first priorities should you be elected to office?
So my first priority is to really, and if you look at the bills that were up this year, a lot of people don't think about the environment, but it's number one. It's the number one issue. We probably had 20 deals, 20 efforts we were working with. I tried to work with my rep. He does not talk to people. He does not have public meetings. I asked John if he wanted help on the data centers because he started to work with that. He didn't ask for any help. He never called me. He doesn't want to. I'm an expert on that around the country. I coach other states on this data center thing, which is encroaching on us. So I'm big on education, and I think the number one thing we should work on is getting Medicaid in place, getting it expanded. There's no reason why can't our governor do a budget? Why can't all those people up there at the Capitol do a budget? We end up with these big, exorbitant billion-dollar surpluses every year that we give out. And it's no secret what we're doing with that. All he's doing is buying votes. He needs to be buying the votes of the people who matter, that are out there in the hinterland, especially in rural Georgia. I can't camp as a scoutmaster. I can't go to many areas of Georgia because it's unsafe. We're not close enough to any critical care places to get people to help when they need help. So, we're just pretending that we have this money and we're not taking care. We should expand. And I know the reason we're doing it is just because we're making a political statement. It has nothing to do with safety. It has nothing to do with taking care of people.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Thompson,
you
for
all.
joining us tonight. We appreciate your participation.
Yes.
And finally, before I turn it over to Laura to close, I'd like to remind everyone to be on the lookout for an email in the next couple of days. We'll be sending links to some important supplementary information, and we'll also provide a link to a recording of tonight's session. So thanks again to all the participants, and I'll turn it over to Laura now.
Thank you, Joe. Again, I want to thank all the candidates that came. I hope that, everyone paid attention to some of the things that they were saying. Again, the information you can find at the QR codes. You can find more about our individual groups, Indivisible, North Metro Atlanta, and Third Act Georgia at the following QR codes that you see on your screen. I'd like to thank everybody who came out to hear from these candidates and their teams that might be on the call as well. And I hope you have a good night. And make sure you register to vote by Monday, April 20th.